Hello, welcome to the Artist Scientist Podcast, where we discuss the overlaps of music and technology creation. I'm your host, Alexis Douglas, a music technology enthusiast. Our recording is on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations on Turtle Island, also known as Vancouver, Canada. Today, the Artist Scientist is a producer, gypsy violinist, and a DJ. He began his music training with the Suzuki method, then grew into other styles, including abstract experimental, dance music, and hip-hop. His talents have graced the stages at festivals such as Shambhala and the Montreal Jazz Fest. As a producer and composer, one of his original scores is featured in the animated short film called Ben Affleck on the Meaning of Life, which premiered at TIFF. In addition to performing and composing, he is also a loving father and teaches music and DJing to youth. Without further ado, it is my immense pleasure to welcome Michael Fraser to the Artist Scientist Podcast by FloVerse.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Alexis. It's been a pleasure to be a part of this.
All right, first question. One of your mentors, Tom Keenlyside, a saxophonist and flautist, had a tremendous impact on you, teaching you to connect with music in an abstract rather than theoretical way. Can you explain by giving an example of how to connect with music in an abstract way with your violin and DJ artistic practice?
Well, one of the things that I learned from Tom was watching how he would score anime films and really follow the narrative and the story, and give the music personality through emotion. And so I would say that I definitely took that. I mean, Tom really helped me with music on a theoretical level as well, but there was something that I heard and watched him do when it came to putting emotion into that knowledge. You can't just play the notes and hope it comes out with the emotion. You really have to put yourself into it. And so I would say that's something that I carried into my experience. And you mentioned some of the film scoring that I've done. I would say that that's a avenue where I put in a lot of emotion into the music, because the notes are just notes until you put yourself into it. So, yeah.
Thank you. All right, question number 2. The flow state in positive psychology is a mental state in which a person performing is fully immersed in a feeling in the process of an activity. Although the concept has existed for thousands of years under other names in different cultures, have you personally experienced the flow state? And may you please share a short story of being in the flow state or give advice about how to get into it?
Yeah, the flow state is very important to me. It's something that I feel I stumbled across at quite a young age. And one of my earliest memories on finding that flow state was really just using my imagination to get there. And it was really simple, actually. I was already improvising at the time, but what I allowed myself to do naturally, or what I decided to do, was draw shapes in my mind's eye with the notes. And so there's a really distant relationship to what I was playing and how the shapes were taking shape in my mind, but the connection between what's happening inside and what you're expressing musically is how you ultimately eventually connect to that flow state where you are processing a story or emotions or imagery or something that's happening internally and giving that life and expression through music. And so that's what I would say about my earliest memory to connecting to the flow state. Um, and I think what I got from that was how important it was to have that internal imagery and the framework that you're working with on a level from the inside to then bring that out through the music. So it could be as simple as shapes, it could be as complicated as an emotion or a memory of a time that you hold on to while you're performing the music to get you into that space where there's a connection between what's happening inside and how you're expressing it musically.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the concept of like imagining shapes as you're
Mm-hmm.
making sounds. I think, I guess, from my own musical upbringing, people have like talked about like you have like two options or three options. It's like there's go up, stay where you are, go down. But I like how that like evolves it from like making shapes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's really beautiful. Thank you. All right. Question number 3. A quote from the Jewish Independent newspaper interview about your teaching youth music and DJing. You commented saying that kids do not differentiate between DJs and music creators. Those barriers are completely gone. From teaching the next generation, where do you see the future of music going?
Yeah. I mean, I think that over time we've lost the distinction between music that we create and music that we're experiencing from the changes through sampling. Oh, and sorry, I had a notification there for some reason. I Yeah, so with sampling and with the ease of downloading music, etc., and the way that um, really a DJ ends up being a sampling artist once you do a little bit more with it, right? That distinction between a musician and a DJ falls apart. The more you do with the sample, the more you become a creator, right? And so I just see that evolving over time, and students that started out with me as DJ students become very quickly more interested in learning how to create their own music, and a lot of that also involves sampling, which is so closely related to DJing. um, how I think that might change in the future, I think it's an open canvas. I think that we're really just seeing right now how decades of DJing and sampling has turned into a creative outlet to be music creators. I'm excited to see what the children of the next generation come up with in ways to express themselves, um, both in musical ways where you start with the notes, but also where you're starting with samples and not necessarily a theoretical thing.
Okay. Thank you for your thoughts on that. Um, we've reached the end of this podcast, and can you tell us about one of your projects that you're currently excited about?
Well, projects that I'm currently excited about.
You're currently working on something, or if there's something that I guess recently wrapped up that you're excited to share with the public.
What I'm most excited about right now is connecting with artists and helping artists find their sound. It's something that I have been on a lifelong quest to find for myself and to be able to assist other artists in discovering that and developing their artistry is something that I'm always excited about. And so, yeah, I'm just always excited to meet new artists and help their journey towards their own flow state in the most authentic way possible. So that's the most exciting thing for me on a day to day when it comes to music.
That's lovely. Thank you very much, Michael Fraser, for talking with me on the Artist Scientist podcast by FloVerse.
Thank you for having me.
We look forward to your future creations. In closing, may you stay in the flow and keep creating. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. I will.
And to our listeners, thank you for listening to the Artist Scientist podcast. We regularly post new episodes on all major podcast platforms. Make sure to follow on your favorite podcast app. The Artist Scientist podcast is conversations with various music artists and technology enthusiasts on topics related to creative experimentation, finding your flow state, and the future of music. Stay connected with FloVerse on all major social media platforms or visit our website at floverse.ca. Lastly, remember to download the free Midimo mobile iOS app by FloVerse and enjoy a new music production experience using 3D motion. Get in the flow with Midimo.